I have a quick question for you, and I want you to answer it honestly in your head. Do you know your credit score right now?
Oh, I bet they do.
Right. Like the exact number, or at least, the general ballpark.
Yeah.
Because I am willing to bet you know that three-digit number much, much faster than you know your own blood type.
Oh, absolutely. Or even like your own resting heart rate.
Exactly. Which
Hmm.
is a wild reality to sit with,
Yeah.
especially considering nobody in the history of the world has ever been denied an apartment application because they had said prime hemoglobin.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. We routinely prioritize this completely fabricated financial metric over our own biological data. And, that little quirk of modern life highlights exactly why we are looking at this material today.
It really does.
We are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating script titled The Scam of Debt. And this comes from a show called Unfiltered Build, which is hosted by Nina and Cole.
Yeah, and our mission today is to deconstruct how a simple three-digit number somehow managed to completely hijack our collective sense of self-worth.
Right. We are looking at the hidden mechanics of a system that, according to the source, is engineered to keep a population entirely dependent.
But before we dive into the mechanics of that system, we really need to set a clear boundary for this discussion. The sources we are analyzing today from Unfiltered Build are, well, they are highly critical of the modern capitalist financial system.
Very critical.
Yeah. They refer to banking structures as abusive, and they view debt as basically a deliberate scam. So, just to be clear, we are not here to endorse their viewpoint, take sides, or, declare war on lending institutions.
Right, exactly. We're impartially mapping out the mechanisms they point to. We want to see what we can learn from their specific perspective on the economy.
Exactly.
So to understand their critique, we have to start at the psychological level. Because before examining the trap, we really must examine the bait.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the emotional weight we attach to a credit score is just staggering.
It really is.
I mean, the source material argues that this score stopped being a boring back-office financial tool and somehow morphed into this full-blown personality trait.
Yeah, it's like people outsource their self-esteem to a weather report for their dignity.
Yes, people wear their credit scores like a varsity jacket. It's crazy because it literally dictates your physical posture. Like it dictates whether you walk into a car dealership with your shoulders back, chest out, ready to negotiate.
Or if you walk in doing that sort of apologetic shuffle.
Right, the apologetic shuffle, hoping the loan officer will just take pity on you.
And that's the absurdity of it. You are allowing a corporate entity to dictate your mood on a random Tuesday.
A completely faceless entity.
Exactly. An entity you cannot vote for, you cannot call directly, and you certainly cannot reach on any emotional level. And the algorithm uses criteria that are, frankly, frequently opaque.
You just change your score without your explicit permission, or even a notification sometimes.
Right. And most importantly, the bureaus running these algorithms, well, they profit regardless of which direction your score moves.
Because they're just selling the data either way.
Exactly. They are data brokers. They monetize the metadata of your financial behavior. So it functions very much like an entirely one-sided relationship where the other party holds your social security number but has zero obligation to treat you with any human reciprocity.
Well, if the relationship is really that one-sided and opaque, I mean, it defies basic human logic that we so willingly participate.
Yeah.
There has to be a psychological hook that keeps us logging into banking apps every single week just to check that number. And the source text points to this paradigm shift to explain it. They say the score is just the cheese.
And the real product is the trap itself.
Right. But wait, I struggle with that idea a bit. If the loan is the actual product, why does the bank even care if I buy a house or a car at all? Why not just hand out pure cash?
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychological engineering embedded in that interface. The physical asset actually plays a massive structural role in keeping you tied to the debt.
Oh, okay, so it's an anchor.
Exactly. It's the anchor for compounding dependence. A bank cannot easily repossess a vacation, right?
Right, or a dinner out.
Yeah. If you default on a personal loan, they can't take those back, which makes unsecured cash really risky for them. But a house or a car provides collateral. It forces you to prioritize that specific payment above all your other needs.
Because you don't want to lose your house.
Exactly. So the banking system isn't actually selling you shelter or transportation. They are selling you the synthetic feeling of financial security, anchored by an asset they can threaten to take away.
That is so dark. But the apps make it feel so fun, the gamification.
Oh, completely. It operates on this engineered dopamine loop. You get a push notification that your score went up, complete with a little green arrow or like a confetti animation.
Right, the confetti.
And that synthetic feeling of winning, it encourages you to open one more card or accept that credit limit increase or use a buy now, pay later feature for something you didn't even know you wanted.
Until the app suggested it.
Exactly. You feel like a responsible adult who is succeeding, but you are actually just building a dense web of reliance. Because the absolute greatest fear of a lending institution is a self-sufficient human being.
Because if you don't borrow money...
If you don't borrow money and you live entirely within your means, you are a ghost to the system. You are unbillable.
A ghost. I love that term from the source.
Yeah, a system built on leverage simply cannot survive a population of free, unbillable ghosts.
You're just floating around the economy refusing to generate interest.
Exactly.
But, opting out entirely ignores the reality of how our physical world is actually structured.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the source expands on this with this brilliant mousetrap metaphor.
Oh, yes, the increasingly large mousetraps.
Right. The economy is structured as a series of these massive mousetraps. We walk up to the basic requirements of life, we see the cheese, and the trap politely smiles and says, "Take your time." We also offer financing on the cheese.
Because basic human survival practically demands participation.
It does. You can't just opt out of having a roof.
No, and the mechanics of that demand rely heavily on manufactured scarcity. We are talking about housing, transportation, healthcare. These are basically the standard starter packs for a functioning human in modern society.
You literally need them to have a job to pay for them.
Right. And over the last few decades, the wide availability of credit has actually driven the baseline prices of these necessities way up.
Wait, really? The credit itself drives the price up.
Yes. Because a seller knows a buyer can secure a 30-year mortgage, the price of the home expands to absorb the maximum amount of credit that the buyer can access.
Oh, wow. So you're paying a premium just to walk through the door of adulthood.
Exactly. The necessities are priced at a level where it is mathematically impossible for an average wage earner to purchase them outright with saved cash.
So you are funneled into a loan just to access an ordinary life.
Debt literally becomes the cover charge for existing.
The cover charge.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the moment you sign that paperwork to access basic shelter or transport, a structural transformation occurs on a balance sheet somewhere. You transition from being a citizen with aspirations into a reliable, predictable, recurring revenue stream for a financial institution.
You become a yield.
You become a yield.
But that rigid pricing structure assumes a perfectly predictable human life. Like, you sign a 30-year contract, assuming your income and health will remain perfectly stable for 3 straight decades.
Which is impossible.
Right. What happens when real, messy, unpredictable human struggle collides with this highly engineered machine? The source introduces this concept they call struggle fitness, and it frames this collision perfectly.
I really liked that analogy.
And it's so good. Imagine walking into a gym, and the management charges you a higher monthly fee the more out of shape you are. Like, you can only run a mile, so they double your membership costs.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really see the mechanics of risk-based pricing in action here. The financial system is objectively hardest on the individuals with the slimmest margins.
It kicks you when you're down.
Exactly. Consider someone experiencing a severe life disruption, like a medical emergency or a sudden job loss. A single payment slips during a chaotic month.
And the algorithm doesn't care about your medical emergency?
Not at all. The algorithm does not factor in human context, it just triggers penalty APRs.
Yep.
Suddenly, a credit card jumps from a 15% interest rate to 29%.
It's literally like throwing a lead anchor to a drowning person and calling it a flotation device.
That's exactly what it is.
The minimum payment recalculates, and suddenly, paying that minimum doesn't even touch the principal balance anymore. You are just paying the monthly fee for the privilege of carrying the debt.
And the individuals with the least amount of money are charged the most to access capital. This points to the core critique of the unfiltered build script.
Because we tend to view those spiraling penalty phases as a glitch, right?
Right, like a failure of the system to help someone recover.
But the source argues it's not a glitch at all.
No, the trap working perfectly looks identical to the trap being cruel.
That is profound. The cycle of debt isn't a side effect of the business model. The cycle is the entire business model.
Exactly.
When someone is struggling to pay and getting hit with compounding late fees, the lender is not failing to rescue them. The lender is succeeding at extracting maximum yield.
Which forces a very uncomfortable audit of what we believe we possess. If we are locked into this endless cycle of payments just to maintain access to basic necessities, what do we actually own at the end of the day?
The source script uses a very disruptive phrase for this. They say, materials own people. People do not own the materials.
It flips the whole concept of ownership on its head.
But hold on, I need to push back on the idea that we own absolutely nothing. I mean, I'm building equity. If I pay a mortgage for 10 years, I can theoretically sell the house, satisfy the loan, and walk away with actual cash. I'm not totally empty-handed, right?
Well, you are building equity, yes, but you really have to look at the amortization schedule of a standard mortgage.
Oh, the math behind the payments.
Yeah, right. For the first several years, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes directly toward interest, not the principal balance of the home.
So you're barely touching the actual debt.
Exactly. You are essentially just renting the debt from the bank.
Huh.
And furthermore, the illusion of ownership is maintained by your constant labor.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you must perform the upkeep. You have to replace the roof, maintain the engine of the financed car, pay perpetual property taxes.
Well, I see.
If you cease your labor or stop paying the subscription fee to the lender, the asset evaporates. They take it back.
So you are basically functioning as the unpaid groundskeeper for your own financial prison.
That is a very accurate way to put it.
The American dream of ownership and independence has basically been repackaged as a subscription service, and it comes with incredibly aggressive cancellation terms.
Highly aggressive. Try to leave the system, and you lose your shelter, your transportation, and your societal status.
Your perceived freedom was basically just the security deposit.
Yeah. And when you realize the math is tilted that heavily against you, the natural response is to look for a way off the board entirely.
We want an exit strategy.
Exactly. Which brings us to a thinker featured in the script named Joseph Sack. He provides a strategic framework for navigating this reality. He calls it the digital cottage economy.
So what does this all mean in practice? Because I think the immediate emotional reaction for anyone listening is to want to, take all your credit cards into a parking lot, pour lighter fluid on them, and just watch them burn.
Which is a very cinematic visual.
It's a great visual. But setting plastic on fire doesn't actually pay your grocery bill tomorrow or lower your rent.
Right. Sack's philosophy requires far more discipline than a parking lot bonfire. His core premise is that dependence is the actual product being sold.
Okay.
Which means self-sufficiency is the exit they pray you never locate. He advocates using the very tools the system utilizes for extraction, things like automation, digital networks, artificial intelligence, to hand individuals the power to shrink their dependency footprint.
So we're talking about building instead of borrowing.
Precisely.
The mechanics of this are really fascinating because it's not about going completely off the grid, right? Like moving to a cabin in the woods and churning your own butter.
No, not at all. It's about using modern tools to bypass the traditional financial gatekeepers. Let's look at an example. If you want to start a small business today, the traditional route is to take out, say, a $50,000 small business loan.
Right, to hire a marketing firm, an accountant, an administrative assistant.
Exactly. So you start your business already completely trapped in debt, which forces you to chase highly aggressive revenue targets just to service the loan payments.
You're stressed from day one.
Right. But Sack's digital cottage economy bypasses that initial leverage entirely. An individual can now utilize open-source AI models to handle their own market analysis.
Oh, wow.
They can automate their administrative workflows and manage their own accounting. By leveraging these decentralized digital tools, you completely eliminate the need for that initial capital injection.
Because you're just doing it yourself with software.
Yes. You don't owe a bank a monthly payment, which means your baseline cost of survival remains incredibly low. You successfully decouple your livelihood from the credit market.
So you are systematically looking at your life and just removing the hooks.
One by one.
Like you learn to repair the finance car yourself using online communities instead of putting a $2,000 mechanic bill on a high-interest credit card.
Exactly.
Or you use open source software instead of paying $40 a month for a dozen different B2B software subscriptions.
Right. Every skill you run yourself, every resource you generate locally without swiping a card, it starves the debt machine of its yield.
So you don't defeat this highly engineered system by playing its game perfectly and achieving a flawless 850 credit score.
No. You defeat it by slowly, methodically, and sometimes tediously, just kneading it for less.
You shrink your footprint.
The goal is to lower your required overhead to the point where you become calm, you become capable, you become remarkably hard to scare.
You become unscorable.
Unscorable. Yes.
Which really brings us to the final takeaway we want to isolate from this unfiltered build script. That three-digit number you have memorized faster than your blood type. It was never actually designed to measure your actual human value.
Never. It measures one thing, and one thing only: utility. It calculates how reliably you generate profit for a financial institution.
And conflating your worth as a human being with your utility to a lender, that is the psychological trap that makes the whole system function.
It's the engine of the trap.
But the day you separate those two concepts, you can finally see the strengths. You can walk into a dealership or a leasing office with your spine straight, knowing that the algorithm evaluating you is just a piece of software, is not a judge of your character. Let your spine do its job.
Absolutely. And this raises an important question to consider long after this deep dive ends.
I love these final thoughts. What do you have for us?
We established that the credit bureaus view an unscorable, highly self-sufficient person as the most dangerous type of consumer alive, right?
Right. The ghost.
So what would happen to our society's entire concept of status and hierarchy if a critical mass of people simply decided to embrace the digital cottage economy and become ghosts to the algorithm?
Wow.
If millions of people quietly shrank their dependency and stopped playing the game, would we finally be forced to invent a way to measure human worth that doesn't involve a dollar sign?
A society of unbillable ghosts, forcing the world to measure something real for a change. I love that because, your subprime hemoglobin hasn't stopped you yet.
Exactly.
So know your blood type, forget the algorithm, and start building your cottage. We will catch you on the next deep dive.